So our title is Learning Through the Eyes of a Student. Many students have a difficulty retaining information, especially given to them in a monotonous manner. They have a hard time perceiving the lesson, whether it's given visually, auditorily, or through physical activity. Because teachers tend to stick to these traditional methods, many students struggle with what is being taught and have a hard time understanding it. So in today's societies, factors that allow students to better comprehend the knowledge are things like songs and interactive learning and visual aids, which help work to better facilitate a better learning environment and permit innovative learning.
There are a lot of people who are auditory learners, meaning they learn best when they hear things. For example, if you play a song a lot, you learn the lyrics, so that can kind of be counted as auditory learning. The downfall of auditory learning is some teachers tend to talk like this, and it's really boring, and you fall asleep. And that's a big downfall, because then you're not learning anymore, and that's not good.
However, one way to counteract this problem is for students, with the permission of their teacher, record the lectures and discussions. This way, they can learn at their own pace, and they can go over the information that they missed during class. Another auditory technique is putting a catchy tune or song to the information that you're learning. For example, Debakey teachers teach their 9th grade students to remember the quadratic equation to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel.
And the song goes like this: x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
So auditory learning is a way of learning, and everybody learns differently, right? So everybody has a specific type of learning that they normally use. But there are types of learning that are specific to each generation. So for example, 1920s, 1930s, the World War II generation, when TV wasn't around, I know it's a scary thought, TV wasn't around, and everybody listened to radio. And so studies have shown that generation, they learn best when hearing something. So with the invention of the TV, people started to learn more visually.
And some of those visual learnings could be using PowerPoints. PowerPoints are really effective and easy for teachers because all you have to do is put in a little bit of words, so just like the main ideas of the information, bright colors, and a bunch of pictures, because students, when they just see a bunch of words on a PowerPoint, like me, they'll tend to just like close their eyes and just go off to their happy land. Also, teachers are now modernizing, and they're using smartboards now. My physics teacher, he still uses his overhead. That's okay, because when I went to private school, they used overheads all the time. But smartboards, they're a lot more easy, more convenient, and you get to draw on them with those markers. So that's pretty cool, actually.
All right, so we talked about how students learn in the classroom, but how do we put it into tests? Well, in our physics class, our teachers encourage us to draw the diagrams, or the FBDs, free body diagrams, and they just allow the students to visualize and just see how the process is going. Like, say you have, like this, a bullet hits a block that's 40 kilograms, and then how much momentum does the block have? Like, you just can't just get it immediately after looking at it. So you have to draw out the diagram and just look and see.
Is that it? All right. So obviously there are many different ways that people learn. So the question is, why does this matter? Why is it important that we realize that there are different ways of learning? Well, obviously the education system today needs a little bit of work. I mean, kids sit down for 7 hours, a day, and they get force-fed this information whether they like it or not. Obviously, some people, I like physics, but I don't like math that much. So obviously everybody has their favorites, but unfortunately there's always something that seems boring to people in school. Studies have shown that the average, and personal experience shows, the average attention span for a teenager is 17 minutes. So somebody talking for like 45 minutes doesn't work. People check out, and then that's the extent of their learning. So the question is, how do we use the different ways that people learn? How do we apply that? How do we apply that to school? The answer is really simple, right? By using the way people learn differently, we make education fun again, and we make it so that students can actually learn.
And one more thing. So there's also kinetic learners, which learn by doing a lot of hands-on activities or like anything with their hands or anything that'll help them retain information by physically moving around. And personally, in our dental rotation, we make alginate models of the teeth impressions, and that helps a lot because we label it out and we physically get a touch, like what does it feel like, what does it look like, instead of just saying the teeth number 24 is the maxillary right lateral inside. Like, who's gonna remember that just by reading it, right? It helps a lot if you're central incisor. It helps a lot if we're making models or playing games. And also, one time in high school, our teachers assign different things. One game that they assign is in different sections of the chapter, they assign different lessons. And each group of student makes a game based on that lesson. And that really does help a lot because the actual student who made the game, they remember the information, but also everyone else gets to remember it on a level to where it's like peer-to-peer instead of a teacher saying, coming up with the game. One time in chemistry, a game was pass the ball around and that's an atom. I was like, how is that even relevant, right? But when we came up with our own games, we can tell them, hey, they understand better whenever we're talking to each other or whenever it's student telling another student something else. Our teachers always encourage us, if there's a wall sometimes that their voice isn't passing through, but another student can pass through, break that barrier, I guess, with a physical activity or anything hands-on.